Hey, I'm Mr. Mitch, and I'm here today with Music Radar. Minimalism comes naturally to me, I think. It's, but it's something that I've developed over time. I, my way of producing has always been to put everything in and then just take it away. Um, if you look at a lot of my projects, is just there's a lot of just muted tracks because I'll just have so many different ideas and I'll put them down into the track and then be like, no, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and then I'm just left with like maybe four key elements that just work really well together. And yeah, it's something that comes easy to me now. And I speak to a lot of different producers, and they're just like, how do you make it sound so full, but there's hardly anything going on, and I don't really know. I think it's just that technique of putting it all in and taking it out until it sounds right, uh, because you run the issue as well of like when you've got a lot of different melodies going on, they're clashing, and when you've got it's a ball ache to mix as well when you've got so much going on. So if you've got only a few key elements, it's a lot easier to mix, and you can make it sound really big still with just a few different FX processes and stuff like that, just to fill the gaps. I got into music, I feel like, in a similar way to a lot of people in my generation. Well, not necessarily exactly this way, but I started making music from software off of the back of a cereal box. Like I got Hip Hop EJ, I think it was, which is just like one of those software where it's just all the loops and you just chuck them in, and it sparked my interest for making music. I had a cousin who had Fruity Loops, and he gave me like a cracked version of like it was Fruity Loops 3 or something. I mean, that was probably, I was like 12, 13 years old, and it just was amazing to me. Like I'd heard music before, electronic music, I mean, and I just never really understood how it was made. My In my home, we kind of had R&B and reggae playing in the house, and there wasn't that much electronic music. But I kind of externally, I started getting into like garage, and that was like the new sound for me, at least. And I just didn't understand how it was made. So finally seeing Fruity Loops and be like, oh, I can do this myself. And it was like, I think that's the same story for a lot of people of my generation, of kind of how we got into grime, for example. It's just like most of us that started making grime were using Fruity Loops, and it was so easy to just have that step sequencer when you just plug it in any button, you just throw in any sound and just crack on, and it was just fun. Mr. Mitch, as a kind of production alias, has gone through lots of different lives, and the music has always been changing, and it's always been a kind of reflection of my life. And I released my last album, Lazy, in 2021. So I was making that before lockdown mostly, and a little bit kind of during it. But there there was a bit after that where I I was no longer working in the day job that I had, where that was actually bringing in like a decent amount of money for my family. And off the back of kind of COVID and stuff, a lot of my shows kind of dried up. So it's like I got to a bit of myself of like, okay, I don't have this job bringing in loads of money right now, and the shows are not popping as much as they were. So like it kind of made me lose a sense of identity. Whereas I've put myself as, I'm a DJ, I'm a producer. That's what I am. That's my identity. And it's like, okay, what am I without that stuff? And it kind of, I needed a bit of time away from Mr. Mitch to kind of reassess that and come back with something new. And in the meantime, as a way of bringing in money, I was doing music production lessons with different people, and doing that stuff is like you're making all different types of music because they want to try and make different things. And then doing that, I realized, oh, I'm pretty good at this. Like I can make whatever kind of music I want, and I enjoy playing this certain kind of music in a club environment, and I want to try and bring that to the club environment. So that's where DJ Cuddles came from. It was just like I want to make this kind of more functional music that kind of works in the club space and a bit more fun and a bit less. I guess it wasn't less self-centered in a way, because Mr. Mitch has just been a pure expression of myself and wherever I'm going through at the time, and DJ Cuddles was just kind of taken away from all that and just a bit of fun. And then it took the beginning of this year. I took a trip to Nigeria with a close friend of mine, and it was his birthday, and he's got like a guest house out there that we were all staying in, and he put on loads of different stuff for us to go and do, and it was just a pretty inspirational trip for me. It just taking me away from kind of the environment where my identity stemmed from and lived, and putting me in this new space where art is thriving and basically a completely different environment to what I'm used to, kind of just got lots of things flowing in my brain. And at the same time, my father was going through a lot with his illness at the time. So he suffered with multiple sclerosis, and he's suffered with that for a long time. But it got to a point this year where he was just the worst that he's been with it, and he eventually got to a place in May where he unfortunately passed away. And it kind of was another point for me where, as he's always been a music man, he'd always played. He used to tour with like Mad Professor, and he's played as a session guitarist for a lot of different reggae artists. But kind of he always put that stuff on a back burner to be professional and to kind of provide me with a life. But it was just like a moment of like, what am I doing here? Like, it was just like, Mr. Mitch is me. Me and Mr. Mitch are the same person. Like, I'm Miles Mitchell, but Mr. Mitch is the artistic representation of me. And there was just a moment where everything just aligned, and I started going through tracks that I'd been making in the time of also doing DJ Cuddles, and stuff that I'd been making before, and everything just started making more sense, and I had to just start piecing bits together. And yeah, it was just a weird moment of things make sense now. There's always going to be a sense of me, of unintentionally, kind of, it's going to sound like a Mr. Mitch record, but the way I do things and my practices are always changing, so it's going to sound different. Like, if I will go back to a project that I started in 2018 or something, there'll be like a lot of techniques that I was doing back then that I was just really a big fan of, and then I'll open another project that I've made this year, and then there's a whole bunch of different techniques, and I think it is a lot of it is I just forget. Actually, I forget about how I used to do something. I'll just keep slowly moving on and trying different techniques, and then now I'm in a whole new space where I'm making music that sounds like this. And I think contextually with my music is the context comes afterwards. It's like you just make the music because it's flowing out of you, and then once you've got it there in front of you, you're like, oh, this makes sense because of this. I think as an artist, you have to play the game a lot to, which has always been the case to a certain extent, but right now it's the game that you have to play is be good on social media and be very present all the time, and the music is important. I think it always will be important, but it's how you're presented is super important right now. And if you're not playing the game of making all these cool TikToks and doing live streams as a DJ all the time, and it's going to be hard. And I know a lot of people really thrived over lockdown from doing a lot of the DJ live streams, and it's great. I'm not dissing that approach at all. It's just something that I personally can't sustain and struggle with. I'm like so the way I make music is like, as Mr. Mitch is, the album will take 2 to 3 years because I'm experiencing life and living it through the music. So it's not necessarily something that I can just make a cool little reel about and show you, oh look, this is how I made this song in 15 seconds because it's like it doesn't translate to that format. And I haven't necessarily found a way to push it to in this new way of presenting music. And it's yeah, it's a hard game to play. Yeah, I think it was it was a point this year where I was like, actually, I think I've got an album. Like it will I when I started making music as DJ Cuddles, I always knew that I'll be making music as Mr. Mitch and releasing music as Mr. Mitch again eventually, but I didn't know when that would be. And yeah, after the beginning of the year that I had and deciding to head back into kind of a Mr. Mitch headset, I I just started compiling these tracks and I'm like, wait, this might actually be this might be an album. This all makes sense contextually. From my perspective now, I feel like there are still kind of these micro scenes that are happening, but at the moment still existing quite a lot online. Um, and then I think what it takes for all of these things, well, I think the same thing for boxes, there just needs to be someone that takes the initiative and be like, okay, we all like this thing, let's bring it to the real world. And that's what happened with boxes. If it weren't for Slack, to be honest, I don't think Box would have ever happened because he's an action guy. I feel like in a group you always need one person who's the action person. That's not me. I'm kind of like an ideas person, but I will never action it. So you need that person to be like, well, let's do this then. And that's like that. Box came off the back of a tweet of being like, wouldn't it be really cool if all of these cool sounds exist or had a club night for it? And then Slack DM'd me saying, well, let's do that then. And then that's what it happens. And that's what any micro scene that's happening. I think it just takes the action person to just be like, okay, let's bring this into a physical space and make it real. And I don't think the clubs are dying, as in like they're disappearing. But I don't think music. I don't think scenes will die. I don't think these micro scenes and these different genres and these different sprouts of things will die. I think it will just kind of get new life and a new way of presenting itself, which I don't know what that is yet, but someone else, some other action person somewhere else is going to figure it out and bring it to a new space. The number one thing that I've realized from teaching people production, holding people back, is that they don't believe their music's good enough, when most of the time it is. Quite a lot of the time, like recently, this guy sent me all these tracks that he was like, oh, I've been sending them out to different people. This one's mixed it for me. This one's added additional production for me, blah blah blah. And I've listened to it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And he's played me the original versions before he got everyone else to kind of put their input. And I'm like, this is better. Like, you were good enough before. Like, just have a little faith in yourself. And I think that's hard to kind of put yourself out there, especially when like you're so emotionally tied to the music. And that's the scariest thing, is just actually letting people hear your music and receiving criticism on a public forum is hard and it's scary, but I think it has to be done. And I think I'm of the thinking that you will improve and your music will change over time in the public forum, and that's okay. I was like that as a DJ, like boxed doing box and having a regular monthly night changed me and improved me as a DJ, because I'm there. The same people are coming back each month, and then I'm having to figure out how to please these people that don't want to hear the same stuff I just played last month. So I've got to think on the ball and try and improve myself as a DJ. And I think it's the same with you put out music, as like you're not necessarily pandering to people's opinion. You're just putting stuff out, and you always just hope people will like it. But yeah, you just gotta crack on.